November 2nd work session. All members present. Councilwoman Inzarello is having a little bit of trouble, but should log in shortly. Today's work session is for the presentation of the 2020 town audit, the Town of Smithtown Council, and I will turn it over to Mr. Urbano, our town controller.
Thank you, Supervisor, members of the town board. We have Tim Doyle here this morning from the town's independent audit firm, Bonadeo Group, to present a summary of the town's audit results. And before he begins, I'd just like to recognize the work of all the staff in the controller's office, especially Kathy Core, who does an exceptional job in putting these financial statements together. So Tim, please begin.
Good morning,
Great.
Tim. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you all for having me today. So we are here to present the summary of the audit results, also offer, opportunity if there's any questions that anybody has on the audits themselves. I also want to echo appreciation for the staff. They did a wonderful job in being prepared for us, and that's a big piece of this. You should have all received an executive summary that I'll go through. And again, I'm going to keep this in a very summarized fashion, but I'm open to any questions you may have. So for starters, on the deliverables, you should have received a audit of the financial statements. So that's the larger packet. You're also required to have an agreed upon procedures on your landfill, which we'll get into the details of that. And then also you would have had a required communication letter that's required on any audit that we provide to the Board of Governance, which in this case is the Town Council. So I'll take you through some of those. We'll start with the landfill agreed upon procedures. This is prescribed procedures by the EPA that are required to speak to the financial stability of the organization. So the report itself goes through each of those required areas that we're required to perform procedures on. And then after each procedure, it notes findings. And I want to be very clear because sometimes the word findings can evoke some thoughts there. The language is required that we have to say what the procedure is and then what the findings were. We found no non-compliance in any of the required procedures. So it was a good report, but the report will take you through each of the procedures, and it's very standard for anybody that has landfill responsibilities in terms of reporting on the financial stability. So clean report on that one. Again, the report takes you through each of the procedures, but the real key there, no non-compliance with any of the procedures. Any questions on that report before we move on? Okay, great. The next report is your annual financial report. So this is a larger packet. This includes your financial statements. It also includes an auditor opinion and also a governmental auditing standards report. So those are the two reports that are included in your financials from our firm. The first report is the auditor's opinion, and we issued an unmodified opinion on those financial statements, which is the highest level of assurance you can obtain from an auditor. It means that we were able to obtain sufficient audit evidence to support the financial statements, as well as the disclosures that were included in your financial statements. And it's consistent with what you've received in prior years. So no difference there, but again, highest level of assurance we can give you, or any auditor could give you, and consistent with prior years. The governmental auditing standards report that's in the back of that document is required for any governmental agencies. And there are two areas that we're required to report on. The first area is your financial reporting or internal controls over financial reporting. So those are the controls that, if not operating effectively or not in place, would not allow you to, in a timely fashion, detect a material error or fraud. Okay. We noted no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in those internal controls. So that's a clean report. And that also is consistent with what you've had in prior years. The second part of that report is your compliance with laws, regulations, or grant contracts that could have a material effect if you had a non-compliance on your financial statements. Again, we noted no non-compliance there. So that is also consistent with prior years. We did issue a management letter. I like to explain to folks management letters a few years back, probably over 10 now. The rules changed in terms of reporting under governmental auditing standards, and what we just spoke to, material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, those are internal control deficiencies that were required to put in your audit report if again, you would not be able to detect a material error or fraud. So those are pretty significant internal control deficiencies. What the management letter used to be was that would be where you'd find some of those things. Now really the management letter is areas for improvement, best practices, things like that. So we like to clarify that if there was anything significant, it would be in that report. The management letter that we issued, there were 2 items on there. One was some improvements we saw in the IT environment. It really just refers to a document that we gave to your IT folks because we don't like to, well, we won't issue any of those in a management letter because we don't want to provide anybody a trail. Okay, so we did note in the management letter that we provided your IT folks with some suggestions for improvement. And then the other item that was in there was with regards to fixed asset reporting and accounting, and we just saw some improvements relative to segregation of duties and timeliness of reporting that we thought could be improved. So again, not significant matters, but just areas for improvement. Before I go on to the other discussion matters, any questions on any of the audit reports? Supervisor, you're on mute.
So those would be indicated in that management letter, right? Any recommendations for IT and the other?
Well, the IT, there's a separate document that it refers to, so your IT folks have that, but otherwise, yes, the management.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. On the other discussion matters, we did want to note you were not required to have a uniform guidance audit. That's your federal compliance audit. If you expend over $750,000 in federal awards, you're required to have that separate audit, which I believe you had last year. You're not required to have that this year. You were under the spending limit. As ARPA funds are spent, that's a big piece of federal funds that we're going to see next year for everybody. And in addition to your other federal monies, more than likely next year you will need that again, the uniform guidance audit. But if you're looking at last year and you don't see it this year, that's why you're under that threshold. The New York State DOT audit, also, if you have a federal compliance audit and you expend at least $100,000 in DOT New York funds, you're required to have the separate DOT audit. So again, you didn't have the single audit or the uniform guidance audit this year, so not required DOT. Likely next year you'll be required to have that. And then the last big thing we wanted to highlight was there is a footnote number 7 in your financial statement that takes you through a significant change in your financial reporting this year. GASB 84 required some changes in what previously was reported as fiduciary activities. And so really the footnote takes you through what funds changed and what beginning balances were changed. You'll see restatement or prior period adjustments throughout the financial statements. That's not due to error. It's just due to implementation of the standard. And the real key at a high level was that your taxes collected on behalf of others, other governments, were in the agency funds in the past. The agency fund has gone away and been replaced with what's called the custodial fund. So that's very similar, but just terminology change. And then the other big thing was payroll deductions and bid deposits that had previously been in the agency fund now are defined as governmental activities and have been moved to the governmental fund in the general fund. And we worked with your staff and management on that and the accounting for it, but it did change. Just wanted to let you know because that's a pretty significant change. You see different statements in there, that's why. So that's a high level of all the things that the in terms of the audit reports and significant things that changed in your financial statements. But again, I'm open to any questions anyone may have.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
No.
No.
No, thank you.
Okay, so Tim, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think what you produced sounds very positive, which we're happy to hear. Paul, do you have anything to add?
No, Supervisor.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming in, Tim. Good talking to you, and I'm sure we'll be talking as we go forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a great day.
All right,
We're trying.
I will move then to close the work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everyone, enjoy your morning, and we'll see you for the board meeting at 2.